Hey everyone, welcome to your daily update for Sol and BTC. Hopefully you are enjoying the Prime Day, which always lots of fun. They aren't always chaotic and they aren't always dumps or big pumps, but they quite often are. So we haven't hit the lowest levels on BTC yet, and I've just been sort of very frantically trying to find out exactly what we're bouncing off. There's a few things that are in this area, big things, trends, that kind of stuff. We could be bouncing off some of those, but yeah, it's always kind of hard to figure out with the amount of stuff that's sitting in this area. Now, as far as closes today, we really only have a one-day close, being a Prime Day. So if we have a quick look at liquidity, I'll just bring this across from the other screen. Okay, so we obviously, as you can see, took all of that liquidity on the way down. We stopped here at about 97,900 and something, which just seems a little early. Like there were targets at 97 and there were reasons to bounce at 97, but pretty sure they were just a couple of $100 less than that. So we'll see. As for what we're doing, it looks like we're kicking in a bit of a short squeeze. Certainly it looks like we're kicking in a bit of a short squeeze on Sol. There's just an enormous amount of leverage to the upside, not too much to the downside. Although I'm a little surprised they didn't wick down and grab this 130 area. Instead, they sort of just are currently bouncing off that 141. And yeah, I did say and have been saying now for quite a while that we probably need to go to 141 on Sol if we actually want to have a sustainable bounce, because it was pretty much 141 and 140 were where all the weekly levels and larger are. I think there's a 7-day level that's just below where we went as well. So just thinking a bit, don't know if I trust it. It's hard to trust pumps, especially when you know that about maybe not even a dollar under where you went. There's actually another level which you'd think it would have tapped, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. If the squeeze kicks off, there's any number of things that we could have hit around this level. Targets, pretty much range from just brushing up against 100k again, right through to there's a lot around 107 that we can run into about this point, and then there's 109, and then there's actually 115, 117. There's just a lot. Okay, looking at Sol BTC strength, so we've dived through two normal trends and a range trend. Welcome to a Prime Day. If they want to stop this from being a further breakdown or getting stuck under this trend, they pretty much have to bring that all the way back up in the next hour, which I don't know if that's going to happen. So we might actually see that we end up closing under this trend, and then tomorrow we could have one more little push down. Or that just means that BTC might actually have a bit of a faster recovery than Sol, which the low time frame price action this morning has pretty much looked like that. So Sol's just kind of been lagging, and BTC's been sort of growing in momentum a little bit earlier. Okay, just have a look at the weekly. Yeah, so the weekly has retested the backside of the prior broken interior trend after diving basically through everything. So it could find support there, but I don't necessarily think it will. It's got a couple more days to go on this, so they could push that down and then go a little bit further and then do a bounce. They might actually bounce off this 14125 level just down here. But yeah, the actual weekly support on Sol BTC is all the way down at 12780, so that would be pretty bad for BTC. Sorry, bad for Sol, unless of course BTC has a mega pump, in which case that still means Sol is worth something. and we're a bit further away from the monthly, but it's nearly come back to the monthly trend. Now, worst case scenario is that this candle, really what it is trying to do on the monthly, because the monthly is not actually broken, there's not been a single accumulation candle actually hard close above this interior trend. So what it really is trying to do is actually get down back under that trend, sort of reclaim its rightful position under interior resistance, which is pretty bad, really, if it gets stuck under a monthly trend. There is this monthly level down here which hasn't been retested, this break level, which is all the way down at 11083. So, if Sol doesn't get a move on and recover, it could definitely be heading down to some pretty nasty prices. So, okay, let's check out the safety assets. Yeah, so safety assets on the daily, they bounced off that support very, very cleanly. They're at 67.18%, and they've gone up into this hold. So there's going to be an interior trend break today, which is not good because it means that it's actually gaining momentum and breaking trends. And at the same time, there's going to be a range trend come into play. So you might get a rejection off the first touch of the range trend, and that could bring it back down to around that 68.05 area. But this is really, really, really bearish for alts. Just that structure. It's definitely need to see this thing pull back a bit before the end of the day. Particularly, get back under one of these range trends or something like that. If it doesn't, it's really 50-50 as to whether this rejects or whether this just keeps following that same uptrend that it's now been in for quite a while. So if we look at the weekly, weekly is just pushing through the backside of the trend again. I mean, the weekly may reject when it gets to 68.47, like it has done a couple of times, but it's just showing, basically it's just showing Bitcoin and stables are king at the moment, and alts are just going to keep getting a punish as long as this thing keeps climbing up. And look at the monthly, still a lot to go on the monthly, but monthly is pushing into resistance. It hasn't done the first test of the range trend yet, but I mean that does mean getting all the way back up to 70.64 to have a potential rejection from that level, which is going to be an absolute punish for altcoins if that gets back up to 70. Okay, let's have a look at these totals. Okay, so we've hit the daily trend on the totals. We've also hit what looks like, we've also hit an origin support level on the daily, and it's attempting to reclaim this higher level in the interior trend. It may do that in the next hour, but it's not 100% likely that it will. Yeah. So if it was to get back up over 3.04, then it's reclaimed that level of support that it's dived through now. But really you want to see it get back up above the range level at the top here, which is that 3.08 level. And then it's still got the trends to contend with. So it's it's not looking too flash on the daily. Sorry, I've just been sneezing, continuously sneezing too. I keep pausing the video and sneezing, just in case you're wondering why I sound like I have a cold. Okay. So looking at the weekly, we've basically hit the level 3. We've hit level 2 of the distribution range, and we've hit level 3 of the prior accumulation. So it's sort of bouncing off that. But again, it's got to get back up above this range trend. The one thing about the weekly, which is going to happen, is that if this candle closes blue and has a wick on the bottom of it, the actual trends are going to move to the base of it. And then it does have the ability to bounce a trend, but you don't really want it to be underneath a range trend and having to do that, because then it just can get stuck in between the two of them and basically just, fail and keep going down. You sort of want it to be up a little bit higher, longer wick on the candle, and then when the trend moves, it can bounce from the top side, hit it, and then go up. That's a way, way, way better approach. So we still really want to see this climb up a bit. Seeing as it's the second time it's hit that 3.03 level on the weekly, it may be trying to go back to actually retest the 1618 there at 3.24, but we'll see. Hopefully this short squeeze picks up a bit of momentum and this thing starts to take off. And looking at it on the monthly, we still haven't actually come down and tested the range trend. We did it on that October 10 wick, but I've found not to be trusting a heck of a lot of those. We haven't got to the second level on the range yet, so really the month needs to close back up over the 1618, or it's going to mean another candle of downwards towards that 2618 there at 2.85 trillion. So that's yeah, they've got a bit of work to do. Need to get the prices of things back up before the end of the month, which is kind of a natural bungee cord reaction anyway, because we have dived the monthly break level. So typically this is a liquidity grab, or it should be a liquidity grab, more so than anything else, and then come back up. We also never actually hit the body of the whole candle when we rejected. So as soon as we touch a trend, the trend is going to try and push back to the body of the whole candle. So yeah, so the daily looks pretty bad. The weekly looks like it could fall off a cliff, but really I think it's some point in this month, whether it's this weekend or whether it's later in the month, some of the stuff's got to kick back in and start dragging that price up. Okay. Versus risk assets on the daily, we tested the backside of the prior broken trend, so that's normal, and we've already pulled back up above the origin support level. So this one's interesting because it actually shows that risk assets as a whole are recovering better. Not that you would say that for Sol at the moment. Sol does not seem to be in that group of risk assets that are recovering better, but there probably are ones like Hype, which is already green for the day, and I imagine Asta. Yeah, Asta seems to be hasn't even gone anywhere near the low that it did previously. Okay, let's have a look at Sol. Okay, so Sol on the daily it was in that awful position yesterday where it was basically stuck between the break level and the range trend. They wicked up, grabbed liquidity, wicked down, basically just took both sides. Then they made it even worse and stuck it in even more of a confined space where it had to break. And I remember posting something in the Discord saying this just can't last long. It's got to break. And sure enough, it broke. Now, because we'd hard closed this 155 level, it sort of spiked up into that through the trend, and then it's rejected. And there's kind of two ways you can measure this range. So we can measure it using the body up here, in which case we've already hit the bottom of the range. And you do that because the candle engulfs so far down, and this wick came up and just tapped the 1618 before the range started to reject. However, this could apply as well. So sometimes they are wick to wick, and looking at this, whichever way it was, technically we triggered it. So if it is wick to wick, you really want to see the daily close over 144.708. If it doesn't, then it might just reject off the underside of that and then head down to this 137.597. So, which is pretty much your next break level. and we're starting to get into where we actually have some daily support. So we actually have a daily origin support level there at 134.535, and we have a daily hold candle, which starts at about 137. So yeah, I think just looking at all of this, yeah, if they don't let it get past that sort of 144.708 for the day, then that probably shows the intentions is to have another dip. So, and then you could expect to see those 130s. So that's probably the bearish view. The bullish view, of course, is it's done. It's completed all 4 stages of the range. It hasn't closed on the underside of the 4, and based on that, it's going to try and reverse and come back up, recapturing some of these daily levels like 145.6 and this one, which is about 147.8 roughly. Catching those levels would make the reversal definitely a bit more convincing, because it's come through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's come through 5 support levels. So welcome to a prime day. So then just having a quick look at the last 2-day close. So this has bounced off that 141.350. So it was a support level that existed across a few different time frames. So 2-day, there was like a weekly level in there. It was also one that even the really, really big wick, like the deepest measured wick on the 10th, never actually hit. So it's yeah, if that continues to bounce, because it doesn't close today, so if it continues to bounce, then it should be heading back up to that 155 through to 157 area. But it just has to keep bouncing over the next day or so, because if it ends up not recovering that sort of 146 area, then it'll be below the break level and below the trends. So it pretty much has 24 hours to get itself back up there before it becomes a hard close situation. And yeah, so same level on the 4-day. So it was a 4-day level as well. That's got 3 days to make its way back up above the trend. So yeah, have to keep an eye on that. So it looks like it's a pretty solid entry, as long as they don't break it or push it back down again on the daily, which they could do today, because it's the one close that they have today. Okay, but if it does go down, something like the 4-day is still going to be in motion even if there is a daily dip again. So that doesn't actually stop this. So this might just pull back down again and then end up going back up over the next 4 days. So okay, I think we had some bigger stuff, but yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the bigger stuff. All right, let's have a look at BTC. So with BTC, level 3 of the distribution range had perfect confluence with a 1-day origin support level. So we haven't hit level 4. Level 4 is 97,587. I think what you might see today, if they want to go bearish, is I think you're going to see a close just under this 99.543, and then a rejection to push down to level 4. Structurally, that makes sense, just as far as the range goes, how the range was struck, and how the levels line up. Now, once we get down to this 97587, there is some kind of retest to be done there. Yeah, there's an origin retest to be done there, which hasn't been retested since it was broken. So, like, it's very, very, very unlikely that this bounce is going to hold. I think if anything, you're seeing a bounce just because we're getting close to the end of the day. They sort of have to retrace back to that support level. It's just kind of one of the bungee cord rules that price has. But yeah, I think you might find that they're just going to push it down under there. on close, or they could even take it back up to the range trend at about 100, 100,300 roughly, and then just reject off that to then push through again, because that'll be the one, two times as a break level, plus once, twice as an origin level. So yeah, that level would be pretty worn out by now. I don't know if that's going to really sustain this move and keep it going. So just just keep an eye on that one. Of course, the bullish side of that would be that they keep moving it back up. But yeah, they really have to close over that sort of 100K-ish area to be back above that range trend. There's still lots of resistance there, but the first hard closed resistance on the daily is 103, or maybe actually 102,700, which would be one of the range trends we're hard closing today. So yep, we want to see it. Well, you just want to see it as high as possible, to be fair, if this is to hold. But yeah, it's still under downtrends. It's still, it would definitely be a bit abnormal for that to be able to recover from here. Okay, looking at the 2-day. So far the 2-day has failed range creation. So technically it's been pushed back. So when it goes to try and create a range, if it can't create the range base, then the range base often pushes back into the hold. So I've been looking at this quite a bit lately, actually, because the cool thing about it is it's almost a tradable level. It's a new type of level that we can find on the charts, and I've just got to do a whole heap of testing on it and make sure that it's fairly consistent. But as you can see here, you take wick to wick of the candle like that, and it was not fully engulfing the wick. The price then rejects the body, comes down to the 1618, and this is a short that we would have known to trade previously, except we would have traded it body to body like that, which means we would have cut out a bit early. And because it hasn't technically closed under that 98.065, it's not going to try and propel to that next level, which is 92. Instead, what's happening is it's actually getting pushed back up to try to go back up into that hold. So yeah, this is something for the future. Once I know more about it, we'll do some little video or something on it, because it's actually a potential, another potential means of finding entries and exits. And it does look like, as we speak, Sol's just passing 144.6. So yeah, it looks like it's possibly getting to the right levels. BTC's at 99.843, so it's moving up. Okay. Yeah, so hit the break level. So this is a trend dive in play on the 4-day for BTC. So you dive through a trend, you hit something that is a horizontal data point, which in this case is a break level, and then the candle starts to retrace back towards the trend. So that's a liquidity sweep of a trend in play. So that's positive. I don't know whether or not the bounce will stick today, but this kind of thing is positive, because sweeping trend liquidity typically implies that they actually want to go higher. When they just bounce cleanly off a trend like this candle did, they normally don't want to go that much higher, but when they take the liquidity of a trend, if they recover that trend in the next 3 days, they tend to go higher. So I don't think we have, yeah, so this actually was capable of engulfing body wick the entire amount, and then gave a lovely big dump, came back up and tested the range base, which is the 1618, and then down to level 2. So that's what you'd expect to see when ranges are being created, and now it just comes down to whether or not we either close under level 2. And these are the really important things to watch over the coming days, once the prime day is out of the way and we start getting big closes again. Because if this candle closes under this 98, yeah, then 92 and 85 come in. So just keep an eye on that. And okay, so this is failed range creation. So that should be trying to push the price back up. So it's bounced off this level and it should be trying to push back up to 105. Right, so that's, but it's also a 79-day time frame. So, heck, it can, all the other smaller time frames can play out before this thing really has to do what it's meant to do. So, it could be doing it right now, or it could just be the fact that you've got some smaller time frame like the daily trying to pull up, and then the daily will finish, and then this will dip down again. It's got a very long time to do its thing. So each one of these wicks, as an example, that was above that trend, they were up there for quite a while. A lot of people were very much long and euphoric, and then eventually it just comes into line and pulls it back down again. So that's unfortunately time. Can't really tell you when this is going to play out. Okay. So 63. So this has hit a range trend. So I'm just going through some of these because being a prime day, there's not, like I say, there's not much really that matters about today's close, but there is a lot of these things that are in play already from prior days. So this is, it landed on a range trend. It hasn't hit the 1618 yet. It also hasn't triggered. So it should trigger. It's a valid engulfment. It can create a range. So definitely, if you get the price heading back up to about 107, just take some profits. Take some profits at 107 because it may hit 107 and then come all the way back to 96. Okay. It may also just push to 96 first. So that's entirely possible. So weekly there's so many range trends on the weekly, but this one through here is from back when price was about 79,000. So it is, what the candle has just touched is it's just basically touched a prior broken trend, and it's touched a weekly break level, and it's touched the weekly support range trend from March. It just can't lose that. Like if it loses that, it's coming down to your 70s. And the week is in a proper range. So the week really needs to get back above 101, 136 and hold that for weekly close. Otherwise, 92 is what it's going to try to push through. There's so much stuff through here to be retested, which is why I kind of find it hard to believe that we are going to just bounce from here, because just stuff like this weekly level on BTC, which is 96,455, you really don't get that many weekly levels left behind. And there's even another one down here at 88. So I was sort of expecting that we could get some kind of news scam wick type thing, like October 10th type wick, that just took all the way down to the retest of this 88,741 here, which would then just bounce back up pretty quickly because of the existence of this weekly origin level that's coming through here at 90,759. So and also you've got an untested weekly range trend there at 93. There's just so much stuff that should be getting retested down there. Yeah. Don't know if I trust the bounce. Or if it is going to bounce, where's it going to stop? Let's see. Yeah, that's 10, time frames like the 2 week, they've got 10 days to go, but if the candle was exactly like that in 2 weeks, the trend would shift and it would give it the ability to bounce, but it's not much to look at there. We've hit level, Yeah, depending on how that one's checked, it should be checked off there. So that's at level 3, and it's bouncing back up. There's a lot of confluence in all these various time frame range levels, that they're just hitting these numbers and going up, and I think that's why it's actually going back up, because there isn't really much else in that area that's an exact touch for BTC. What have we got? Oh, we just hit 100K. We just hit. Let's see if that holds. 60-minute origin. We just ran into it. Yep. So that's complete. 105,690 down to. Actually, that's just tested level 2 of the accumulation range. So that's yeah, that's a fun one. So you've got a distribution short to 94, which hasn't actually engulfed the wick, so that could be failing. And you've got the older 11-week accumulation range, which looks like it was done off the body. So yeah, it's kind of tapped the level 2 of that. So if this top one fails, that's going to push us, we'll try to push back to 116. Okay. The 22-week. I mean, really, this still, it's rejected off the backside of that trend, and it really should be coming down here to 90, 94, 95. But hey, it's 22-week, so this thing could go to a blow off top before it even comes back. 6 day. So this closes in a day. So the trends will all break, every single one of them. They'll move to the bottom if the candle is still blue, in which case it could bounce the trend and try to target the whole or the upper resistance up here at about 10, what would that be? 106 to 107, 108 sort of area. This, wonder what this is up to. So let's just have a quick look here. Yeah, so closing over 100.608 would be key, preferably over 103, although it doesn't look like that tapped the body. It looks like it created the range off the wick, so or is trying to create the range off the wick. So you want to see it fail to do that, which means closing back up inside that area, and then of course that will kick off a bounce back to the top here, 106. Okay. Yeah. I don't know who watched the video, but remember when I circled that candle and said, yeah, this ain't good? Yeah, now you see why. So yeah, it's kicked off a series of death candles. Yeah, this is going to hard close potentially that origin level through there. So if it does bounce on the trend, it'll break the interior trend. It's still holding these ones, so that's kind of okay. But it'll it'll break all the interiors, and it could bounce back to 106. So there's a bit of confluence there around price finding its way back to 106. And that closes in about 7 days. It's trying to bounce, pull back up as it is. So I think it's yeah, 95. So if this closes under 103,469, and if it hasn't already, that is gone down to 95.5, but yeah, if it closes under here, it would reject off somewhere up inside above the 103 and then come back down to the 95 area. So it's a real mixed bag. Like the closes over the next few days are super important. And we're back up over that 100,300 level on BTC, so that's good for now. All right. Sol's starting to build up some liquidity just to the underside, which isn't so flash because they've been pretty quick lately to just go up enough to get a lot of liquidity just underneath and then dump straight back through all the people that chase it. So just got to keep a bit of a close eye on that. Right. Let's have a quick look at Tesla. Yeah, well, that didn't open above the trend. So, yeah. See, if we'd opened above the trend, we could have gone up, but we opened under the trend, so we've gone down. And it's found support on the retest of that range trend from the previous high up there, this nice little clean bounce there. And as far as the target goes, it kind of depends. The day's over, so uh, it either has to open up over the 411.43, which means it's kind of got back up inside that level. Either way, it's now under trends. So one of the main interior trends is going to break. It'll come to the bottom of the wick, and that should give it the ability to have a bit of a bounce. But like overall, this is pretty bearish structure. Now that it's back under trends, it takes time to pretty much break through them. So yeah, that's for those people that got that sell up there at that origin level at 465. Then you can sit back now and watch and wait and see if you can find a good entry if you are going to buy back again. Probably look down here because although it can find support where it is and go back up, there is a whole bunch of untested broken levels down here. So levels like 367, 364, 354, they're all untested levels. And most of the stuff underneath that on the daily is tested, so it shouldn't go too far down. Well, at least if it tests those levels, then it could find support there. So areas to look for re-entries. What else you got? Yeah, break levels. And there is the actual range support for that entire range there. If it loses these 411 and above levels, then the next daily range support is this 300 level down here. So losing the level up there at 411 is effectively going to make it try to find its way down to 300. But yeah, obviously there's trends and break levels and hold levels and all sorts of things in between. There is a pretty big air gap here though. So like that is a very big price gap, you know, between about 400 and 367. There's one older level. Yeah, you had an origin support level through there at 387. I mean, it was broken, became resistance. It didn't really offer much resistance here when it was hit at last time at 387. So it's hard to suggest that would offer much support now because it seems to be like if it's not offering a lot of resistance, it's probably not going to offer a lot of support. Okay. Let's just have a quick look at that from the weekly view. Yep. So let's see, how does that work? Yeah, so if it closes under the 1618, then it can definitely reject off this backside here, which kind of lines up with the base of that candle. Whatever time frame that candle ranges that's in there. Could be the rejection because it's basically a perfect match up with the level. And yeah, that would then be at 383, and then if it loses 383, down to 351, and then down to 319. So depending on yeah, there's not much in there, eh? If it loses this, there's just not a lot of weekly holds because it just moved up so quick. Unfortunately, that is the burden of things that move up fast. If they move up fast, they move down fast. The weekly trend will shift if there's a decent wick on the bottom of the candle, so that can potentially offer some support. But it's all based on the wick, because if it's like this, where the candle body is too close to the new trend, then the new candle can just open on the wrong side of it and just continue the process of downwards moves. So yeah, it's looking bearish at this stage. All right, that's us. Good luck over the next day or two. So this could be the bounce. Like, there are structural reasons why we are bouncing from where we are bouncing. They're more obvious ones when it comes to the levels on Sol, but BTC has range levels that it's technically bouncing. So, where we go from here, we could easily see, well, we've already seen 100K. So, yeah, anything between basically 102 and 108 is relatively short-term stuff at the moment. But we just got to keep it in mind that we haven't actually completed a lot of those downside moves. So yeah, there will probably come a time when everyone is feeling like we're gonna keep going, in which case, if it's around one of those key levels we mentioned today, then yep, be the one taking profits, not the one not being taking profits. All right, and it is going to be kind of cool if we get to see Sol just squeeze through all of this, because it has targets up here. So it'd be kind of neat to see that. But unfortunately, you can see that leverage is coming into the downside pretty quickly. So, once there is an area to reject, there's a 15-minute range in play that I think goes to about 149. So maybe they go to 149, hit this 100x leverage up here, and then yeah, have a bit of a reversal. We don't know. Yeah, cool. All right. I will catch you again tomorrow when we have a whole bunch of closes, and hopefully there's a bit more we can figure out from that. See you later. Bye.